Let me ask you something. Are you building technology or are you building results? Well, you just hit play on 10-Minute Tech Talks, business insights and growth hacks for the time-crunched entrepreneur. And I am Jonathan Kirsting of the Pittsburgh Technology Council and Tech Vibe Radio. And in this episode, you are going to hear why some leaders believe AI has been massively overhyped and massively undersold all at the same time. And why the companies that win aren't just chasing trends, they are chasing outcomes. Pittsburgh Technology Council CEO Audrey Russo interviewed Jonathan Jungk of Palantir and Chris Johnson of TeleTracking Technologies at the Pittsburgh Tech Council's 2026 Think AI Summit to get their insights. So if you care about growth, revenue, and real impact, this one is for you. Let's listen right now.
As leaders, people who are in tech and across all this ecosystem up and have different domain expertise, to apply AI sort of responsibly, and I know that's a very least challenge, and to get some real operational results, because you also mentioned design of your, of the reaction design of your team. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, sure, happy to. I think like one thing that we do, at least at Palantir, to sort of just get started really quickly is, push the decision making out to the edge, push it to the, the end user engineer who's like, hey, okay, I'm with the operator. The operator says this is the best way to do it. Don't make a decision directly on what one person tells you, but go see, that's interesting. That's different than what I heard from leadership as the directive for how we do this thing. You got to go start connecting the dots. You got to say, okay, leadership found a tool that's supposed to do this, but for whatever reason, there's a sheet of paper that they're using on the side that they posted to the column, and that's how they actually make their decisions. Why is that the way they think it?
Right, so don't assume the hierarchy.
Right. Yeah. So that's the first thing. But then, of course, then know the balance. It's like, number one, what does, medical device versus like clinical decision making versus like what we can actually do in software, outside of that scope, look like, make sure people know the rules to play by. I think the other important thing to think about here is, when I'm designing this solution, am I designing it in such a way that this is, potentially broadly applicable to the next problem and the next problem? I think it's hard to do that without thinking about what that big data model is, but just ask yourself, does the model I'm building also solve, the two other things they mentioned? I said, well, let's not just go for now, but we could get there. And so keep your mind open so that way you can change the model in a way that would support the workflows the way that they're done. You don't want to encourage bad practices. You don't want to encourage things that one group has done differently than the rest, but you certainly want to make sure that you're sort of understanding that people will find a way to work that allows them to do the parts of the job they enjoy most. And you want to make sure that you're looking into that.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying you push it to the edge as well, and push it to the people who might not have the power but have the solution and are closest to the problem. We forget that sometimes. And so what about you, Chris? What about same question? Piece of advice. What do you want people to leave with today?
I think it's actually interesting that this AI has been the most overhyped and undersold capability out there. It is fundamentally transformative. As we were working on that inventory solution that we're putting down on the pilot at the end of this month, we talked about that we use them Everest, for example. We have a shared vision with our clients. We've shared a vision with Palantir on some of the work that we're doing, but you have to get the base camp. And once you get the base camp, hopefully clear in a little while back, you don't just say, okay, I'm going to go for the peak. All right, there's base camp too. There's a process that you have to go through. And I think this is somewhat in line with what you're talking about, that there's an unveiling that happens during this process. I would also say, you don't have to use my term, but we didn't have an AI strategy, we had an outcome strategy. And at the end of the day, that's what really matters, right? And maybe I missed a market opportunity by not changing our name to TeleTracking.ai, but we signed up in the partnership. But the reality is that there's been a lot of overselling of this capability out there. and not enough to follow proven outcomes that are supporting them. And it's one of the things when I sat down with Jonathan and Drew and Jeremy, the triumvirate that runs the healthcare business at Palantir, we had a shared ambition to help bend the cost curve of healthcare down while improving access to quality and care. That's a big P that we're going after. There was a moment in time where too much money created the problem and too little money is solving the problem. That's where we are. We have the cost of healthcare. And bringing together the domain expertise, the TeleTracking that you own, and the monster, the domain expertise, the 36 years trying things, but over a very long period of time, combined with the speed, agility, what we can do with a combination of these two things makes this a unique moment in time. Find those moments of miraculous moments. And this is something I've never seen in my career. Which has been a little longer than I've been back in it up. It's a long time.
Like 7 years.
75 years. With the speed by which things are actually transforming. And in the healthcare system, I've done this, and the healthcare systems that we've worked with, the need for speed has not always been there. Right? It is a slow-moving dynamic in healthcare. A lot of it around the clinical protocols, things of that nature. But when you talk about the operation side, there is no need for us to move at a slow pace of change in healthcare. And the forward-thinking clients that we are primarily working on, speed matters now. Speed really matters. And for those that are not prepared to make good change in this industry, you will be left behind. But this partnership has put us in a position, I believe, to take advantage of the strengths and the crown jewels of those organizations to do something miraculous.
Wow. What do you think? Covered a lot of ground, right? There's a lot. I know we're coming to the end. You know, in the state of Pennsylvania, like many other states, rural hospitals are closing down, right? Pretty fast. And, I'm hoping that your work moves rapidly enough so that we don't see the decay of those rural places.
I agree with you. And that's actually was part of the reason I was in Florida. And we do have the same conversations. And that's why they are closing. And when you start thinking about access to care now being, not 10 miles down the road, but 50, 100 miles down the road, Texas, so the massive things that are happening in that region.
That is indeed the difference between a tech company and a real business. Features do not scale, outcomes do. Hype fades and results compound. If you focus on solving real problems faster than anyone else, the technology will take care of itself. Those are some powerful takeaways. This has been Jonathan Kirsting with the Pittsburgh Technology Council, and I cannot wait to see you on the next 10-Minute Tech Talks.